Joining us now is Nassim Majidi. She is the director of Samuel Hall Consulting. It's a research company based in Kabul. Nassim, thank you very much for being with us today. Interesting fact that between 2002 and 2012, we saw about 6 million Afghan refugees returning and being repatriated back to Afghanistan. But you're noticing a change in that trend. More and more are choosing to actually live outside and not return to Afghanistan. What's the main reason behind that decision?
Yes, as you rightly pointed out, we had a decade of return and repatriation from 2002 to 2012. But now what we see in Afghanistan is a negative migration rate, which means that more people leave than the number of people who return. And this is for two obvious reasons. First of all, because migration actually never stopped. Even refugees who came back kept crossing borders through Pakistan and to Iran for economic, social, cultural reasons. You can take a cab today from Kabul with $20 and be in Peshawar 3 hours later. So the border crossing is very easy, and contacts and networks, transnational networks on both sides of the border have facilitated and continued migration. And then the second factor obviously is the transition that we see here. Everyone talks about 2014 and the military transition, but as the World Bank rightfully points out, there's also going to be an economic transition with pressures on the urban centers that lead people to leave for their own safety, both physical safety and economic safety.
Nassim, is this something that the Afghan government is concerned about, that more citizens are choosing to leave the country and those who are outside of the country are choosing to stay away? Are they doing anything to stem the tide?
Well, not just the Afghan government. Many, I think, governments are interested and worried about this migration. So basically what we see is a big gap between what people want to do and what they do on a daily basis, meaning crossing borders to Iran and Pakistan, but also further to Europe. But the problem we have here is that the government of Afghanistan does not even have a national migration policy. So the expectation is that the government can take care and regulate and manage this migration, but it does not yet have either the capacity or the right tools, which means having a policy in place to manage this migration. At the same time, there's increasing pressure from governments in Europe, Iran, Pakistan and elsewhere to focus on return, and asking the government of Afghanistan to absorb more refugees, irregular migrants or failed asylum seekers in Afghanistan. There's a lot of voluntary return, but there's also forced returns and deportations, which are very costly and ineffective. And our studies here in the country show that most people who return at some point remigrate.